Look at the night sky. That is where they told you to look. That is where they pointed the cameras, the telescopes, and the collective hope of the human race. They gave you Mars rovers. They gave you the Hubble. They gave you the dream of colonization, of leaving this rock behind. But ask yourself a simple question, a question that should make you uncomfortable. Why have we mapped 100% of the surface of Mars, a dead planet millions of miles away, yet we have mapped less than 5% of our own ocean floor? We act as if the ocean is merely water, a blank blue space on the map. But the ocean is not empty. It is deep, it is vast, and it is largely forbidden. There is a narrative you have been sold. It says that space is the final frontier. It says that the challenge of the stars is the greatest test of our species. But history shows a different pattern, a strange, abrupt pivot that occurred in the middle of the 20th century. For a brief moment, humanity was obsessed with the deep. We were building bathyscapes. We were diving into the trenches. We were pushing the limits of pressure, intending to colonize the continental shelves. The rhetoric of the 1950s wasn't just about the moon, it was about the abyss. We were going down, and then, suddenly, we stopped. The funding dried up. The missions were scrubbed. The public eye was aggressively turned upward. The rockets became louder, brighter, and more expensive, while the silent descent into the black water was abandoned. Why? The official story is that space is more important, that the ocean is too difficult, too high pressure, too expensive to explore. But since when has difficulty stopped human ambition? We split the atom. We conquered the poles. We built gods out of silicon. We didn't stop because it was hard. We stopped because of what we found. Consider the physics of the ocean. Below a certain depth, light ceases to exist. The pressure is enough to crush a military submarine like an aluminum can. It is a world of absolute crushing silence, punctuated only by sounds that science still struggles to explain. In the late 60s, hydrophones placed by naval intelligence began picking up signals, low-frequency signatures, sounds that spanned thousands of miles. They told us these were shifting ice shelves. They told us they were whales. But biological sounds have a rhythm. Ice has a fracture pattern. Some of these sounds had structure. If you look at the timeline, the aggressive push for the Apollo missions coincides perfectly with the moment deep-sea technology reached the bottom of the deepest trenches. It is a coincidence that feels too convenient to be accidental. Imagine for a moment that the ocean isn't just a geological feature. Imagine it as a barrier, a curtain. What if the reason we turned our eyes to the stars was not out of wonder, but out of fear? What if the frantic race to build rockets, to establish a presence in orbit, to look for habitable worlds elsewhere, was a reaction to a realization that we are not the sole proprietors of Earth? We treat the ocean as a disposal site. We dump our waste, our crashed satellites, and our secrets into the dark water, assuming they are gone forever. But what if they are being watched? There are reports declassified, buried in piles of mundane naval logs of objects moving underwater at speeds that defy physics. Transmedium vehicles that move from air to water without splashing, without slowing down. We call them anomalies. We call them glitches in the radar. We dismiss them because the alternative is terrifying. If you control the narrative, you control the perception of reality. By making space the ultimate goal, the powers that be have successfully convinced billions of people that the Earth is fully explored, mundane, and safe. They have convinced you that the only mystery left is light years away. This is the perfect diversion, while you are watching a rocket launch, cheering as it pierces the sky. You are not looking at the dark water just off the coast. You are not asking why massive areas of the ocean are designated as no-go zones for commercial traffic. You are not asking why private billionaires are suddenly building submarines, only to keep their findings entirely private. The ocean floor is covered in topography that looks suspiciously like ruins. Sonar scans show right angles, geometrical formations that nature rarely produces. When these images leak, they are debunked immediately. Glitches. Artifacts of the data. But the silence is the loudest part. If there were nothing down there but fish and rocks, Why is the data so heavily guarded? Why is the ocean floor treated with the same level of secrecy as a nuclear launch site? Perhaps the biosphere we live in, the land, the air, the surfaces, not the main stage. We act like the landlords of this planet, strutting across the continents, building our cities, fighting our wars. But maybe we are just the tenants living on the roof, blissfully unaware of what is happening in the house below us. The abyss is not empty. It is widening. Every time we dip a toe into the true deep, we lose contact. We lose it progress. We lose it people. We are pushed back. It feels less like a technical failure and more like a warning that we have crossed a line. So, we built rockets. We looked for a way out. We started talking about Mars as a backup plan. Backup for what? If you listen to the way leaders talk about space now, the tone has shifted. It is no longer about exploration. It is about survival. It is about becoming a multiplanetary species. They speak with a sense of urgency that doesn't match the threats we see on the surface. Climate change is slow. Resource depletion is manageable. So what are they running from? Maybe the greatest trick ever pulled was making us believe that the unknown is above us, in the vacuum of space, rather than beneath us. In the crushing dark, next time you stand by the shore and look out at the horizon, remember that you are standing on the edge of the true frontier. The water looks calm. The surface is like glass. But you are only seeing the skin of the beast. We stopped looking down for a reason, and it wasn't because we got bored. It was because we looked into the abyss, and we saw something looking back. Maybe we didn't go to space to find a new home. Maybe we went there because we realized this one was already taken.